Rocket League is the type of game that has an extremely slow evolving meta, and the reason why I think that's so amazing is because nothing drastic, if anything at all, about the gameplay is changing. But despite this, even the top teams in the world are constantly evolving and changing the way they compete to try and get an edge over their opponents. And those teams that don't constantly evolve along with the meta tend to fall off because again and again, it's proven that the new meta performs better than the old one. Like, when I first started playing back in 2016, these camera settings were considered the best. What? Nowadays, that is not true at all. Those settings are horrible. Why am I sharing this? Well, chances are, if you clicked on this, you're a new player and you want to know specifically what you can do that will help you improve the fastest. Fortunately for you, the meta has already been evolving for 5 years since the game came out, so there's already a ton of known important tips for new players. And today, I'm going to be sharing 5 of my favorites with you. This is 5 tips all new Rocket League players must know. So I made a survey for new players and I sent it out to you guys and I asked what the main things you all wanted to learn were. And by far the most common answer was something along the lines of aerials or car control in the air. So I thought it would be pretty fitting to put it as the first tip in this video. So first up, it's pretty obvious, but the most basic form of an aerial is jumping once, leaning back, and then boosting up in the air. Hopefully any of you watching this can go into free play right now and be able to do that by just boosting straight up to the ceiling. So it's important to realize that a large portion of the difficulty doesn't come from the mechanics. Because it's so easy to just fly up in the air, most of the difficulty must come from the ability to read the ball in the air. When it comes to reading things like trajectories or bounces, it really comes down to just putting the reps in. This means doing training packs and watching people do aerials. Obviously, doing aerials yourself is the best way to put the reps in, but if you're not able to or you just don't feel like it, you can still learn to read aerials a little better by watching someone else do them. Now, if you're a new player, I'm not saying you should watch RLCS to help you improve at aerials, because those are so advanced you probably can't really learn from them. Instead, you should watch gameplay from someone who is just a few ranks higher than you. Once you get decent at reading aerials and hitting them with the single jump aerial, which will probably take many months, you can practice double jumping and then boosting into aerials. This is better because it allows you to get higher even faster so you can beat your opponents to the ball. Also, make sure that you're holding down your jumps instead of just tapping them because you go higher when you hold them down. Adding this second jump is difficult because you have to jump, lean back, and then stop leaning back during your second jump, and then continue leaning back again and boost toward the ball. If you don't stop leaning back during your second jump, you'll end up backflipping. This mistake happens even in Grand Champ games sometimes, so don't feel bad if you struggle with adding the second jump. If you have a really bad backflip problem, then you can go into your control settings and turn up your dodge dead zone a little bit. This should hopefully make you backflip by accident less often. And if you're still struggling with backflips, it's totally normal. Just keep working with it and you'll get better at it over time. I suggest spending some time in free play when you first start adding the second jump so you can just get the motion down. Then you can move on to training packs and all that. After you start to feel comfortable with double jump aerials, which again will take many months, you'll want to add boost into it. It's the exact same thing as the double jump aerial, but you're boosting the whole way through it. This is what's known as the fast aerial, and it's the fastest way to reach the ball in the air. This whole process of learning aerials with single jumps all the way to doing fast aerials takes many months. Don't progress to the next step until you're really comfortable with the current one. So to recap, the best way to learn aerials is by putting the reps in by doing training packs and watching gameplay that is slightly better than yours. You should begin by doing single jump aerials, then move on to double jump aerials, and finally move on to fast aerials. That whole process takes many months, so be sure to take your time with it or you'll be regretting it later on. I'll also be making a video in the near future that's dedicated completely to aerials and airplay alone, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss that when it comes out. Alright, so something you might have realized subconsciously but not actively is the fact that different parts of your car give different amounts of power to the ball. What I mean by that is the ball will bounce off faster if you hit it with your nose, for example, compared to the side of your car, even if you're going at the same speed in both situations. There's 4 general tiers of power that I like to break it up into from my own experience. Tier 1 is, of course, the nose of your car. Hitting the ball with the front of your car gives it the most power. There's no question about that. That's why you always see high-level players do power shots with their nose. More specifically, the front corners are really good for getting the most power if you flip correctly. Tier 2 is the top and the back of your car. The top and the back still give a decent amount of power, but it's not as much as the front. Sometimes I'd see new players go for aerials and they'll try and use the top of their car as kind of a paddle to hit the ball. It still gives a decent amount of power, but while that may work at lower levels, it'll eventually become easier to just hit it with your nose, so I don't recommend hitting aerials with the top of your car. And of course, there's not really a point in turning around to hit the ball with the back of your car, so you almost don't even need to know how much power that gives. Tier 3 is the sides of your car. The reason this really doesn't give much power is because there's not much girth behind your touch, if that makes sense. Especially if you don't hit it dead center on the side, the car kinda can give into the ball and turn with it, which gives it less power. Even if you side flip into it, it won't give it that much. And finally, tier 4 is, of course, the wheels. When you hit the ball with your wheels, sometimes you'll even just bounce off of the ball without moving it. But that's not even necessarily a bad thing. People use that fact to their advantage when going for flip resets. They'll aerial up to it super fast, and the first defender will go flying over expecting them to hit it with power, but they instead bounce off of it, and they use their flip to get it past the final defender. This is clearly an advanced move, but it just shows you that there are ways that you can use the wheel's lack of power to your advantage. At a lower level, you shouldn't have to worry about trying to get soft touches with your wheels, but it's important to keep in mind that it gives the least amount of power, so especially on aerial shots, you should focus on hitting the ball with your nose, and if that's not possible, you can try with the top. One of the biggest misconceptions in Rocket League is what playing fast means. On the surface, it sounds like it just means you're driving around faster and conserving your momentum more. And while that is partially what it means, it's not that simple. Playing faster also has to do with making your decisions sooner and reading plays and bounces sooner, which is why it's easier said than done. Lots of new players come to the conclusion that the biggest difference between high ranks and low ranks is how fast they're playing, which is true. However, that doesn't mean you should have the mindset of when in doubt, play fast and keep your momentum. In fact, it should be the opposite of that. It should be when in doubt, slow down. You should only continue your momentum when you know where the ball is going. If you're in doubt, you should just wait until you know where it's going and then make your decision, even if it comes at the cost of losing some momentum. Because here's the thing, positioning is more important than momentum. Here's an example. Let's say you need to get to this middle position to be ready for a pass from your teammate. However, it looks like the pass might not come for a few more seconds. Does that mean you should A, keep your momentum going at the cost of being more forward and closer to the play, or B, get there and stop and wait for the pass at the cost of not having momentum? It's pretty clear that the answer is B. If you choose A and you keep your momentum going, nice, you're successfully playing faster. But you also have no chance at scoring because you got way too far forward and close to the play. If you choose B, sure, you're not playing fast anymore, but you'll at least be in the right place and have the ability to make the shot. You can apply this same sort of concept to a bunch of situations on offense and on defense. All you gotta remember is positioning is more important than momentum. Now, that being said, if you can have both positioning and momentum, that's even better, because there is a method that allows you to have both. And that method is what I call timing your arrivals. Timing your arrivals is a really easy concept to understand, but a really difficult one to implement. Basically, timing your arrival is when you reach a particular key spot on the field just as a collision is about to happen somewhere else that you're trying to read. That collision could be a shot on goal, a 50-50 between your teammate and an opponent, or a pass mid, or something along those lines. It's when you don't know where the ball is going to go exactly, and you need to wait for the collision to happen so you can react to it. Let's say you're rotating back on defense as an opponent is coming up to the ball for a shot. The key position in this situation is the back post for many reasons that I won't get into because that's for another video. If you want to learn why the back post is the key position here, then there's a video in the description that explains it. But anyway, the back post is the key position to be at. By looking at the play, you can also tell that the opponent won't hit the ball for a few extra moments. One option in this situation would be to go past the back post and keep your momentum going forward. So you would be right here when the shot happens. This prioritizes momentum over positioning because you're keeping your speed, which is good, but you're also going past the key position to make the save, which is really bad. Another option would be going straight to the back post and sitting there until the shot comes. This definitely prioritizes positioning over momentum because you're at the perfect spot to save the shot from, but you don't have any momentum, so it might be really hard to save if the shot has good placement. So this is better, but it also isn't perfect. The best option would be to time your arrival at that key position to be at the same time that the opponent takes the shot. And you can do this by taking a slightly longer route to that key position while still keeping your momentum. This is the best choice because you get positioning since you're at that key spot there when the shot happens, but you also get momentum since you didn't have to slow down to remain in that key position. That's why this is called timing your arrival, and this can also be applied anywhere on the field. You time your arrival to that key position to be at the same time that the collision is happening. That's how you achieve positioning and momentum at the same time. I hope that's not too complicated. I'm showing a couple in-game examples on screen now so you can see what it looks like from a player point of view. And again, this concept is very hard to implement, so I'd recommend prioritizing positioning over momentum first. And once you have a decent feel for that, you can start adding this variation when necessary. In case you don't know, there's two different camera modes that you can toggle between by pressing triangle or Y on a controller or spacebar on a keyboard. There's ball cam and there's car cam. The way you should visualize how to use these camera modes is that you should be on ball cam by default when you're just driving around, but you should go to car cam for brief moments in specific situations. So because of this, you need to learn how to drive around and turn your car when you're on ball cam at all times, which can be tricky because there are situations like these where your car is facing the camera and turning left actually goes in this direction. For lots of people, that concept doesn't exactly click instantly. And unfortunately, there's not really a trick that helps you learn it faster. It just comes down to playing more games and forcing yourself to get used to it. Even though it doesn't seem like there's any hope for getting used to it right now, it really doesn't take long to train your brain into understanding it, so you've just got to trust it and know that it'll get easy pretty soon. Alright, when you're first starting out, there are two specific scenarios where you should use ball cam, and they'll appear multiple times throughout the game. The first one is when you're going for boost. If you notice that it's not your turn to go for the ball and you're low on boost, you can turn on car cam and grab some boost and then go back on ball cam after lining yourself up. That one's really easy. The second scenario is when you're looking for teammates or opponents. So in this situation here, I'm rotating back and I'm checking to see where my teammates are by going on car cam real quick. And then I go back on ball cam as soon as possible so I don't miss out with what's going on during the play. The biggest issue people have with using car cam is using it in situations that it's not really necessary. If you notice something is about to happen in the play and you don't know where the ball is going next, now is not the time to go on car cam. You should at least wait until you see where the ball is going and then decide to go on car cam or not. Use it sparingly because every time you do, you're taking your eyes off the ball, and if you do that at the wrong time, anything can happen while you're looking away. As for mechanics, the most common mechanic that you should be using car cam with is dribbling. It's pretty clear why, but just to show you, here's what a dribble looks like with car cam on, and here's what a dribble looks like with ball cam on. You can clearly see how disorienting it is. I'll also be making a video dedicated completely to dribbling in the near future, so stay tuned for that. So there's no question that pros and high-level players think really fast when they're playing, right? They have to make so many split-second decisions based on tiny details. Like in this example, I could tell that the ball was heading toward my teammate and he wouldn't be able to get a strong touch in this moment, so I turned around to follow up his touch and I ended up catching it. Then I could hear the engine of an opponent storming in from the right over in my right ear, so I dodged the bump by tapping the brakes and letting him go in front of me, but I made it so the ball would bounce in a way that I could catch it on my hood again. Then I noticed immediately that my teammate just got a demo on the goalie for the other team, which meant that the only guy I needed to worry about was the guy on my left. So I flicked it up and to the right to make it hard for him to save, and it turned into a goal. That is a lot of quick thinking in a short amount of time, and to a new player, it seems impossible to think that fast in the moment. At least when I was starting out, I never would have thought I'd be able to think that fast, but I'm able to now since I've spent so many hours in this game. It's clear that when it comes to quick thinking in Rocket League, you really just need strong brain power that you develop by putting hours and hours into the game. However, what most people will tell you is that brain power just comes over time. There's not really anything you can do to improve it faster. But the thing is, there actually is something you can do, and it helps out a ton. You've got to think about it like this. The reason pros can think so fast while they're playing is because they know exactly which details on their screen are the most important to watch. And that is something you can train. What I do is I save replays and I find a particular play where something happened on my screen that caught me off guard. So if a player was storming in on the side of my screen and I didn't notice it in the moment while I was playing, I'll watch back this play 10 times in a row and I'll stare directly at that detail that I didn't notice while I was playing. What this is doing is it's training my brain to look at the right details at the right time. I'm basically emphasizing that negative reinforcement I get from making that mistake over and over again. It's so much more efficient to train your brain this way than just waiting for new plays to happen in game each time. So again, I'll find the play that caught me off guard and stare at that specific detail about it as I rewatch the play 10 times in a row. This isn't the most fun drill to do since you're not actually doing anything, but it's definitely one of the most productive, so I highly recommend it. And those are 5 tips that I think all new Rocket League players should know. I hope you learned something from this. There are definitely way more than 5 total tips that I think are really important for new players to know, so if you want me to make this a series, then let me know. There's lots of great videos coming soon, like how to dribble, air dribble, how to rank up if you're stuck in a certain rank for a while, and so much more, all because of that survey I had you guys fill out. So be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on those videos. If there's something specific you want me to make a video about, feel free to comment it or fill out that survey which is linked in the description. Other than that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.